Hi Jess, I thought I would give you a video of how I make sourdough.
Okay, so I have my bowl. It's zeroed out on the scale. It's the one that fits in my mix master. So I'm gonna add my water, my starter, and my flour. Okay, I've added my water. It's 650. I put my water in first. And then I do my sourdough starter. You can look at it, it's nice and jiggly. Mine has slightly gone down, which is not a big deal because mine was like right at prime pretty much last night. So then I just put it in the fridge and that was fine. So if it's slightly past prime, it is alright. It's still very active. Because once you put in with water again and flour, it's gonna like activate it again. So it's gonna start rising again. So it's totally fine. Just as long as it's still like healthy and you're cycling it and we got all the bubbles and like when we look at it, it's like nice and gooey and like the bubbles are there. So that's what you're looking for. And if it's slightly low, not as risen, it's totally fine. Because theoretically, if it's still rising when you put it in and you're not quite at peak, it will be very hard to have like the mixture happen again when it's already rising. That's trying to do like a double rise, which it doesn't work too well. But again, you could do it. It doesn't matter. There's no science to sourdough. People have been doing it for hundreds of years. TikTok and Instagram just make it overly complicated. So, gonna add this to here. Okay, I just want you to see this. So when I scoop it, you see how many holes and all that we got in it? Like it looks really, that's really healthy. Next thing is when you put it in your water, you want it to float. It's alright, there's a little bit on the bottom because it's getting quite heavy, but like you want it to float when you put it in. And I forgot to mention, you could do that before you even start this. You could take a little bit of the sourdough and put it in a glass of water and see if it floats. And if it floats, that means it's primed, it's ready, it's totally good. If it gets too far past or not close enough, the starter will be too dense and it'll just sink in the water, so you will know that it's not ready. So either you're not close enough or you've gone too far and you have to restart. Hope that makes sense. Okay, I do like 200 grams. I'm also making 2 loaves of sourdough. I always make 2 loaves of sourdough at the same time. I just never make one. It's just easier. So this is a recipe for 2 loaves. You can do up to like 150, so like 300 grams per loaf. So like 150 per gram, 300 grams total. Depending how weak you think this is. I think this is very strong, so I don't think I need it. I also am making other loaves after this, so I don't think I'd have enough if I went to the 150 per loaf. But I'm also like, so it's like 53 grams per loaf, or sorry, 103 grams per loaf. So it's again, not exact science. With the starter, it has like a range of how much you could put in there. It's totally fine. So I'm gonna do that. Now I'm going to put this on my mix master and stir it up. And then I'm going to weigh out my flour while it's stirring because you want this to become like milky, which I'll show you in a sec. If you're using a mix master, I have a really big boy. I also have a small one. I can fit 2 in that one. It's just you gotta watch it when it mixes around this thing. It gets kind of close, but this big boy, he's fine. But I assume you probably don't have one. If you do, yay. But you can totally use one of those. But you want to use the dough hook. My other one's like white for that one, but this one's metal. All right, I have that in there. I'm just gonna turn it on as low as it goes. And I'm just gonna let that mix up and I'm gonna weigh out my flour. Okay, this is the flour that I use. It's just enriched bread flour. I get it from wholesale and it's, I don't know, like 20 bucks a bag. And it just has a higher protein content, I think it is, so it helps the glucose in the flour or in the bread develop better than just your all-purpose flour. But honest to God, you could use all-purpose flour when you start. It's totally fine. I used to use it a lot, so. Okay, I have my flour going. Theoretically, this should still be mixing, but I just turned it off while I was talking. So I have my flour. I'm now going to put my 20 grams of salt in here because my scale is quite big and it doesn't like doing the small increments, and I don't want to get my other scale out for this, so, and it's just going in all at once. So 20 grams of salt because I'm doing 2 loaves, 10 grams each. This is the salt I use. It's just fine sea salt. Again, it really doesn't matter what kind of salt you use. Just try and use like a fine one so it mixes through the flour and everything better. That's all I have recommendations for, but it literally doesn't matter if it's like table salt or whatnot, because I've used so many different types of salt over the years, but I like this one the best. So, but you don't have to go get new salt. All right, I got my 20 grams of salt in there, and like, see how this kind of looks like milk? Now I'm just gonna add half of this into this. Okay, I've added half of this from here in there. Now I'm just going to let that mix for a while. When it gets a little closer, I'll add more. You see how it's all kind of clumpy now? We're gonna add the rest of that in there. Okay, it's all in there, and I am going to let this mix for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. It's very crucial that you let it mix for a long time because you want it to develop the gluten. And this is a very key point that I think a lot of people miss in sourdough, especially if you're doing it by hand. You don't want to mix it for 10 minutes, but if you're doing it by hand, you've got to mix it for 10 minutes. You need this to develop. So we'll come back when this looks good, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, I thought I'd just give you an update. We are like 5 minutes in, and it's like looking like it's setting up pretty nicely. Before, you'll have a lot of flour and dryness around the side, and eventually it'll peel it off. So, looking pretty good. Okay. Now we are about done. It looks nice. I don't know how to describe that other than to like show you the dough. But it's pretty nice looking. Yeah. I don't really know how to describe that, but that's what my dough looks like when it's done. Okay, I transfer mine into a wider bowl because we're gonna have to do some stretch and folds afterwards, and this bowl is very deep and not wide, so it's very hard to stretch and fold it. But you can leave it in your Mixmaster bowl, it's totally fine. It's just easier to do it in a bigger bowl. So, okay, so now that this is in the bowl, I'm going to let it sit for a half an hour. This is also what I used to scrape it. It's a bowl scraper, which again, you don't have to use. You could literally just use like a spatula. If you have like a firmer spatula, you'd be totally fine. But yes. Also, this is a really random tidbit that I forgot to mention in the start, but this was a 1-to-2 ratio when I fed it because I had very little sourdough, because I also keep very little in my fridge, but I wanted it to like grow a lot and fast. So I did a 1-to-2 ratio for this one, and then when I'll have a little bit, and I'll do it in the video, but I'll have a little bit at the end, and I'm going to do like a 1 to either 5 or 10 ratio. I'm not sure, depending how much is left at the end. Okay, it's been about a half an hour, so I'm going to do my first set of stretch and folds. I usually have wet hands for this. So you just like kind of scoop. I don't know how to show you that. Like scoop the sides of it like that. I'm going to scoop the side, pull it, and then kind of like flap it down to the other side to move a quarter. Again, scoop it, pull, slap down. This will be very easy if you do the 10 minutes of dough, like mixing. If you don't do enough, this is going to be very hard. Then we go around, and you can see like, because of the 10 minutes of mixing, all of it pulls off. There's not like little tiny pieces on the edge, like there's just that tiny bit, which I could literally peel off with my hand and put it back on. Okay, so like that. Scoop it around. You'll kind of get a feel for it that like you want to stretch it, and then see at the point like now we're getting really tough. I'm not be able to pull it up to here anymore. This is like the dough telling me that it's had enough for this round of stretch and fold. So then just like that, and just kind of like make her into a little ball. And now I'm going to cover this and let it go for 1 hour. And then I'm going to come back and do another set of stretch and folds. So I can show you again with this one. I don't like this bowl as much. It's higher and not as wide, so it's harder like when you're going in to pull up, because you can't pull to the side. You can only pull straight up, which kind of sucks. So again, we're going to go get it, pull it up, see how far I can pull this now. It's all right. This one wants to be stretched. pull it up pretty high. My hands are getting very sticky because they're not wet anymore. That's all right. Up. Up. And now see how we're not able to get as far anymore? It's telling me it's done with this set of stretch and fold. So, kind of scoop it a little bit. Little scoops. Again, make a little ball. Now I'm going to cover this and wait 1 hour. I'll see you in an hour. Okay, I lied. I'm back. It hasn't been an hour, but I thought I would show you this. So I'm at the end, and like this is literally all I have left of my starter, which is a little bit less than I wanted, but we're gonna make it work. So I'm gonna add all of this into my little jar. This is like my jar that I always use in my fridge. So 1 sec. Okay, I actually switched to my small scale because this one, it says it does 1 gram divisions, but it doesn't really start until like 5. So it wouldn't be as accurate. So I have 6 grams in this little guy, which is not very good. I usually like to have between 10 and 20 grams, but that didn't really work out. So I am going to do a 1-to-10 ratio. Okay, I got 60 grams of water in there. Now I'm just gonna mix it like with one of these. Okay, all mixed, looks like milk. Now I'm just gonna add 60 grams of flour. Alrighty, 60 grams of flour in there, and again, just gonna mix it with one of these. Okay, so 60 grams of flour in there. She's all mixed. She's very like thick, I guess you could say. And yeah, I was gonna say that usually when I do this, I just run water and make my hands wet, and then it's really hard to do with one hand, but this would have like a bunch of stuff on it. And I just put my hand under the water and then like hold this with one hand and then like scrape it off and then use this spatula to scrape off my finger because it's all wet. So I get all of it in there. But yeah, you can just use water. If a little bit extra water goes in there, it's not a problem. Okay, so this guy is ready. I'm gonna put my lid back on and I'm probably just gonna put him like in the windowsill for now. Because it has like a 1-to-10 ratio, so it's going to take quite a while to come. When I start seeing bubbles and he's like activated again, which would probably be like the end of today, I'm going to put it in my fridge. And then it'll live there for however many weeks I want it to live there until I need it again. The other thing I was going to point out is sourdough will clog your drains. I did that by accident. Chris had to fix it. So usually now I just have like the bowl that had the starter in it or whatever. I wash everything in it with hot water, and now I'm going to dump this down the toilet. So it's like mixed with all the water and all that. And I have read that sourdough starter is really good for your septic too. So okay, it's been an hour, so we're gonna do another set. I think they're called coil overs. This is what I do on my next ones. You can do the stretch and folds again. It really doesn't matter what you do. So, coil overs are like, you go under it. I know I meant to, my hands are not wet. Alright, hands are wet. You go under, and you kind of like, it's very hard to show, but like scoop it up. Kind of pull it. I can't fully pull it yet because I haven't done the other side. So then I drop it. Kind of looks like that, a little fold. Then I go like a quarter away again. I'm just trying to get all the stuff off the side so it lifts off nicely. Okay, and then we're gonna pull it up and shake it. Then that drop. And turn a quarter, a half, I don't know. And then pull the coil, nice and free. Again, pull. See how it's starting to get thick again, like the last stretch and folds? It's telling me that it's ready. And you can pull it like from one side and then I slap it down one side and then scoop her over so she kind of looks like a square rectangle. Go again, let it stretch, slap her down, roll it over, Kind of looks like a loaf in there. Like that. And I don't know, probably do one more. Again, it's just from feel, whatever your dough is feeling. And then this is kind of where you decide if it doesn't have very much gluten development, then maybe we need to do another one in an hour. But this looks very nice. Like it's very, kind of already feels like a little dough, like a little bread ball already. So I'm not gonna do any more. I'm just gonna make her into a nice little dough ball and put the lid on, and now we're gonna do our bulk fermentation, which is the hardest part, I think. So I have a temp gauge in my kitchen, and I can see that it's 22 degrees right now in my kitchen. So it's pretty warm. So I'm thinking it's gonna be maybe like 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, 3, for this dough to rise. If you have a colder kitchen, like with air conditioning and all that, it's gonna take a lot longer. It really just depends on the climate of your house. So again, I'm gonna do some coilovers for this one. Stretch, pull up. It's much easier to see in the glass one, like kind of like that. Then I'm gonna flip, do again, up, still not fully off, again, up, oh, there we go, we're fully off. Alright, so now I can just pull her up, stretch, slap her down, stretch, kind of like make it, slap her down, roll it, maybe one more, slap her down, go, one more. Alright, this one also feels very nice. You can see it's like starting to develop little bubbles. It's not sticky, it doesn't stick to my hands at all. It's kind of like just a very dense loaf right now. And it doesn't like ooze too much. It's very, like the gluten's very developed, so it's very structured. So that's how I know that I don't have to do any more stretch and pulls or coilovers. So again, see, gonna make it kind of like a little loaf, and I'm gonna let bulk fermentation. So I'll probably come back in like, I don't know, 2 hours and check on them and see what they look like to see if they need more time or not to develop, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I'm back. I really don't know how long it's been. Maybe 2 or 3 hours. I don't know. Anyways, so she kind of like doubled in size per se, I think. They look fine. The biggest thing is like this one, you can most definitely see. It's kind of like very much doubled in size. So that's kind of what we're going for, some bubbles. I know that there is like a glass test that we can do. Alright, I don't normally do the glass test, but I think we could try it. So you like pull it, and then kind of looks like a window. Don't quite want to rip it, but you know, you can get it really, really thin and you can see through that. That looks nice. That's kind of what you're going for, but I guess I've done it for so long that I can just look at it and I know. Okay, this is what I use. Honest to God, you can use, you can use pans. Like, I have pans too. If I was making other loaves, I could use those. I have bannetons too, but honestly, I don't really use them. You could use a small bowl to do this and it'd be fine. You can use anything you want. It doesn't matter. But this is what I use, and this is just like 100% organic cotton unbleached, and I just made these guys. But again, you could use a tea towel. You could use a tea towel, it's totally fine. You do not need to have anything fancy. And again, you could just use a bowl instead. So, okay, so it's just like, just the towel in it, and then I've sprinkled some flour in there, and then, yeah, these are just ready. Okay, so, it should just come out by itself, just like that. Pretty clean bowl. Okay, so, like I said, that this is 2 loaves. I have a bench scraper. Again, you do not need this. You could use a knife. It's totally fine. We are going to cut it in half. Okay, so see, like when I cut it, it like has really good structure. It's like holding its shape still. That's also like, you know, another sign that it's really good. So now we have 2 pieces. I'm going to weigh mine just because I'm sewing some of this bread, so it needs to be perfect. But again, you don't have to. You could just cut them in half. So I'm just gonna put that guy aside for a second. So we have this guy. Nice. He's nice and fluffy. Gonna kind of like spread him out. Like that. Okay, spread him out like that. And then it's really simple. Just boop, boop. Put the corn together, boop, boop. And kind of like pull it back and roll. Pull it back, roll. Pull it back, roll. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. Like that. Kind of looks like a little cinnamon bun, right? Pull it towards you and then push it. So kind of like a candy cane. That's what we're doing. Push, pull. Do this, but don't tear it. You want to hold tension in the dough. And it's not sticking to me. So she looks like a little ball. I'm gonna put it aside. I'm gonna let that sit and rest for 10 minutes. I got all my little balls. I got my bantin. It's been 10 minutes. So we're just gonna kind of scrape them off the bench, flip them upside down. Still nice and fluffy and plump. And I'm just gonna fold it in half, like a book. Flopper in the bantin, upside down with that seam. And then I'm just gonna push that seam together with my fingers. I have some flour beside me, I forgot to mention, just on my counter. Just gonna put a little bit, rub it so it's kind of dry. And then just fold. Okay, all my little babies are put to bed. Now I'm going to put them in the fridge for 12 to 24 hours. You could leave them for like 2 days, honestly, maybe 3 days. Because they're still gonna rise a little bit because they're warm from the room temperature. So they'll get a little bit bigger, but the fridge will cool the bulk fermentation down. So, and then they'll stay in there overnight, and I will see you tomorrow morning for baking. Okay, I'm gonna cook 2 in Dutch ovens for you, just so you can see how I do that one. I have them in there, and we are preheating to 500 for 1 hour. Okay, it's been an hour, so I pulled these guys out of the fridge, and I have parchment paper. You can just cut some up if you want, but you need something to put in the Dutch ovens. And then I have this to score it, but again, you can just use a knife. Okay. And also, like I mentioned, they will rise in the fridge. It's like, look at that guy. He's pretty risen. I think it was very small. We're just gonna put parchment on it, and then flip her upside down, and take her off. Then I'm just gonna take this and score it, and you want to go from like bottom all the way over to the other bottom. That's crucial, or it'll like blow out the sides. Okay, now I'm gonna put them in the Dutch ovens. Okay, Chris is gonna record for me because this one's kind of hard to do. So they've been in there for an hour. Okay. That bad boy. Put 2 ice cubes behind the parchment in the Dutch oven. Lid back on. And we're gonna cook these for 35 minutes with the lid on. So, okay, it's roughly halfway. I'm just gonna check on them. So I have like 10 minutes left, so they've only been cooking for 25 minutes, but I'm gonna stop with the lid. So maybe only cook them for 25 minutes. And I might even take mine out at this point, actually. Usually you're supposed to cook them with the lid off for like another 10 minutes, but these look good, so I'm just gonna take them out. So most definitely watch your bread. Okay, so these are the guys that just came out of the Dutch oven. And they're a little bit burnt, so maybe I'm thinking maybe try 15 minutes in the Dutch oven first and then take the lid off and let them cook for like another 10 minutes with the lid off, and it might work a little bit better. But these are still very fine. And you're wanting, like when you have them and they're hot, if you knock them, sounds hollow, we know that that's a really good bread.